to the Book Bark. I'm Meryl Moss, the publisher of booktrib.com and president of Meryl Moss Media Group. And joining me today is Lucy, as you see.
Oh, I'm like me.
Lucy and Robin Kall from the very famous Reading with Robin.
Oh, Lucy.
Oh, here she is. And this is the Book Bark.
I love that. I love that you had like a bark intro. I don't know if everybody heard. That was like well timed, Meryl.
We're talking about on cue here. We don't fool around, okay? Right. I couldn't have timed that better if I tried.
Right?
Yeah. Anyway, and Benny will be with us also. Benny is behind Robin for our auspicious Book Bark event. The first.
I love that. I love that you did that. Book Bark. We're barking books.
Right. So anybody who's watching, please get your little furry friends and include them in this book convo. So Robin and I got to know each other through our love of books, and we got to talking one day, and we thought, hey, why don't we talk about books one day on BookTrib?
Yeah.
And so we're going to do this periodically, but here we are. Robin, why don't you talk a little bit about Reading with Robin so we can everybody can know what it's about if they don't already know you?
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I love the way people who are passionate about reading and connecting people with books and authors and all of it, you just like get each other on a certain level. So Meryl and I were on the phone and it was chat, 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 chat. Right? I mean, it was just,
right.
And we talked about doing this. And when I saw the graphic with the Book Bark, I was like, that is so clever. We're dog people. And so many dog people are book, readers. I just think, and cat people and all animals, but like, there's just some sensibility about people who like to read. And Reading with Robin, yeah, connect authors and readers. And I've been doing it for a long time. The show started in 2002. So, which is crazy, but
was that the radio show that you're talking about?
Radio show, yeah. Yeah, I started out as caller to another show and then just got so into talk radio and talking that I thought I could do this. I'd love to talk to authors. So that's really what happened. But even prior to that, I helped I was on the board at the library and helped do author events and the book fairs at school. Oh, there's Benny. He's not as easy to show, but he pranced in. Did you hear prancing?
Oh, you can change, maybe move your screen so we can see him a bit.
Oh, if I move my screen, the whole world's going to fall.
Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, portability is what Lucy's all about. But
you're balanced precariously. If I were on my cell phone when I do my Instagram lives, I could just easily turn the camera, but we're on the laptop. So yeah, Reading with Robin, that's really what started. And so this passion, because I'm a reader and I like to talk, and it wasn't something that, people have asked, was it done? Were you modeling it after anything? No, it was the talk that came first. And then I thought, who would I rather talk to? Like, who's the best, and I thought authors are just the most fascinating, and I'm a reader. And when I did pitch the idea, the producers were like, we definitely want you to do a show, because I was on this other show and I was, a frequent guest. And then I was like a co-host, but they just said, do people read? You mean, like, are you going to read to your listeners? Or they didn't get it. And I said, don't worry about it. And I pitched the idea to Ken Delgarian, who owned College Bookstore by Brown. And he was like, yeah, whatever you want. It's fine.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So Robin's in Rhode Island, where it's beautiful. And today we're going to talk about summer reads, right? Summer reads that we're reading now and looking forward. These books are coming up in the future. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about books. What's on your to be read pile, or something you've read recently?
The piles, Meryl, right? The piles tumble. I will talk about Caroline Leavitt's With or Without You, because it just came out in paperback. And I love hardcover, obviously, and we love to take our paperbacks and throw them into our bags and take them wherever we're going. Yep. So this came out last summer, and it's out just Tuesday in paperback. And I loved it. And as I said to Caroline, I read it, I don't know, a year and a half ago, because we did an event last summer. And then I remembered the story of this woman who wakes up after I forget how long she's in a coma with a very, there's Benny squeaking his toy, with some talents that she didn't have prior. And so, we talk about it's funny because Carol and I were talking about it, and she had real life experience with this. So, but it is a very uplifting, hopeful, and fun book also. Plus, the darker side.
Well, when it comes to summer reads, this is actually an interesting thing to talk about for a minute. Some summer reads, people sometimes think they're all about light romance and escape, but I'd like to say that summer reads for me can be very dark and very, very intense.
Yeah.
Like this, for instance. Now, this is a galley of a book that's coming out next March called The Bucharest Dossier by a brand new writer. He's incredible. He just won an international award. He's published by Ocean View. They specialize in thrillers. Got a fantastic blurb from John Land, who's also a great thriller writer, blistering, bracing, and bold. And it's a page turner. It's a real thriller. Takes place in Boston, at Harvard, and then also in Bucharest. So this is like, for instance, for me, I like to just get into it, and it's not so summer reads different for everybody, right?
Yeah, they can be light and fluffy and beachy and that whole thing, and they can be dark thrillers and that sort of, like Bathhouse, which just came out. And John Land, also Rhode Islander.
Yes.
As an aside. Yes. And
love John.
And he writes a lot for the Providence Journal. And so that's quite a blurb from him. He's written so many books.
He also writes a column on booktrib.com.
I did not know that.
Yes, he does. In fact, I envision our book bark inviting special guests to be on with us, and maybe sometime we can have John, because he's so much fun.
He is fun. Oh my, yeah. The first time I ever met him was back in the days of Walden Books, and he was outside. It was in a mall, and he was outside. He was probably supposed to be in the bookstore, but he was outside of the bookstore, bringing people into the bookstore. It had been 25 years ago. He's
the best. He created the Caitlin Strong series, and he writes thrillers about her, and she is the protagonist. So female protagonist in a thriller, which is great.
We love. And thrillers. I mean, I did a thriller panel last summer, and I know Samantha Downing has a new book coming out. Megan Miranda's, I think, just came out or is coming out. And we had done, and Kimberly McCreed. I mean, so I have gotten in my love of thrillers, domestic suspense, and all of that is more recent. So I am like, where have you been all my life? I read a lot of contemporary fiction, and I read a lot of cross genre, but that was one that wasn't as familiar to me, or that I hadn't really dug into. And now I'm like, oh my God, I can't get enough.
Speaking of thrillers, Liv Constantine.
Yes.
I mean, do you have that? I'm dying to read that.
It's right there, The Stranger in the Mirror. And Liv is, they're both going to be on with me Monday at 4 o'clock on Instagram. Yeah.
Great. So you do a daily, is that what it is on Insta?
So on Instagram at 4 o'clock, I do daily chats with authors. It's called Tell Me About Your Book. And so the idea for that was, I think last summer, I was doing just so much online when COVID hit, and I was trying to figure out a way to have more authors on. You can only, obviously, even Meryl and myself, we can only read so much, right? Lucy and Benny, probably more, but we can only read so much. So I thought, what a great way to have authors on more. I'll call it Tell Me About Your Book, and we'll chat books, and they'll tell me about it. But what happened was I've read many of them. So, it was like, well, is it Tell Me About Your Book, or are we discussing the book? And, I'm just all about the energy and the passion of it. So it doesn't really matter, but a lot of them I have read. So I do that daily at 4 o'clock. And then I added in 11 a.m.s, but we're changing things up with this new world where we're allowed to leave the house. So I'm going to have to, I'm adjusting a little bit, but like I just spoke to Leah Johnson, for people who are looking for fabulous YA. Rise to the Sun comes out Tuesday. And this is her second novel. And her first one was the first YA Reese Witherspoon pick. You Should See Me in a Crown is the first one. So we just did an 11 o'clock, and they're all on my Instagram. So if somebody goes to Rob and Kall Inc., you can see them all since last summer.
Well, that's great to know. I mean, we could share them on our BookTrib Insta and mine as well. I love sharing content because it's a great way to cross promote
Yes,
and let people know what's going on, since there is
thank you.
so much going on.
There is so much. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Liv, because this
Yeah.
actually, the finished copy just arrived. So
Yeah, she's, I mean, incredible acclaim. I'm so happy for her. So
I,
what else do you have on your to be read?
oh, to be read. Okay, well, I was holding this one. So this, Salma Dave's brand new What a Happy Family. I just interviewed her and read this one. And I read last summer her book. Trying to remember if I can do the title without peeking, but I mean, there's so many books, so I don't want to do that. Oh, Well-Behaved Indian Woman. I should have remembered that. So she was somebody I met. It's been interesting. Some of the authors that we met during COVID are now on second books. And it's like, we
Right.
still, and you feel like you really get to, which you do, really get to know the authors. So this one just came out, and she's also a psychiatrist and a new mom.
Oh,
She's
wow.
a real slacker, Samia.
Right.
And she's really fun to follow. So
Mhm.
that one, but what is coming up, and I did a pre-pub event, and I had Freya on, the Last Chance Library. Book people are going to just obviously love this for like a million reasons. I can't say enough about it, but it comes out in August.
Well, that's great to know.
Yeah.
That's great to know. We're also, that's great. This one, Last Stop on the 6th by Patricia Dunn, is something we're looking really forward to. This comes out in November.
Ooh.
It's actually about a young woman who is an activist and comes home again to the Bronx, where she has a very active Italian, fun, vivacious family. And she talks about, and this is, there's a lot of humor in it. So that's going to be fun for the holidays.
That sounds like my kind of book. I love the coming home books,
Yeah, coming up. Good to know. Good to know that
Yes,
we'll get you a copy.
absolutely. So that's November. So how far ahead are you reading, Meryl? Like what's the farthest out you have?
Well, like I said, the
In
Bucharest
March.
dossier is March, and then another one for March, believe it or not, is Accusation, which is by Paul Batista, which is
title.
also a page turner. Kind of a little bit, it's newsworthy because of the Bill Cosby story. So it has a little bit to do with a high profile person who's accused. Very much a page turner. Paul is an attorney and also a USA Today bestselling author of legal thrillers. So this,
Oh, I love that. That
yeah,
sounds good too. Yes, so many attorneys, novelists who are novelists. I
yeah,
mean,
they all have them in the drawer.
oh my God, it is just, it became like almost not like a joke, but I've been reading the bio. I'm like, blah, 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 attorney, blah, 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 law school.
Yep.
And yeah, like a lot. And
Closet authors every time.
so many.
Yeah, in fact, Otho Eskin, I don't know if you know that name, but he is a former diplomat, Washington diplomat. His new book called Headshot, another thriller, is coming out, and I think it's coming out in October.
Ooh, keep me
So
posted. That sounds good. I love those very easy titles to remember.
yeah, Headshot. It's a great,
That's
it's
a good
a
title.
double entendre. So yes, love the title. I don't have them with me right now, but one that we'll be looking forward to. And I love the idea of having special guests. I think that'll be so much fun.
I think so too. If you want to see, I'm going to show you Benny. I'm going to attempt to do this.
Oh boy, here we go.
You're going to see the whole mess and everything. There he is.
There he is resting.
Benny.
Hey Benny, let's see your svelte self over there.
So we started off our little connection here with a story about Benny's likeness.
Yes, the likeness. For those who are here today, maybe you saw the cute little invitation graphic that we put together.
I love it. I've been posting it everywhere. I think it is fabulous. I was so excited to see it. I really was, and probably wouldn't have noticed as much as other people in the house noticed the proportions, shall we say.
Yeah, we wanted to get Benny exactly right because we know how he's so, he's concerned with his appearance.
He just got up and moved under the dining room table and put himself down, and I heard a little harumph. So, oh, look at her. I love that. Now, does she like tippy-toeing on the couch? Because that's one of Benny's favorite things.
She does.
Yeah,
She
and he does
does.
too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wait, so Meryl, what are you reading right now? And do you read more than one book at a time?
I do.
Okay.
I do read more than one book at a time. Actually, what I'm reading right now is a book called Wolf that came out. It's a World War II, about Hitler, actually. Fascinating story written by Alan Winter and Herb Stern. I'm reading it in advance of a book that we will be working on called Sins of the Fathers.
Ooh.
So I'm reading that actually on Kindle because I'm here. I just put it to, I just did. So I'd like to read on both, Kindle and also in print, and also audio.
Well,
right?
it's funny. I do have one book here, which I'm sure you read. Nobody will tell you this but me. Did you ever, Best Kall?
Actually, I did not, but should I?
Oh, Meryl. Maybe listen to it. It's so funny. I never listen to books. I listened to this one because I was driving to Connecticut and I had time and I wanted to, move it along. The thing is, I know you can speed up audio, but not the way I downloaded it, apparently, because I read way faster than I can listen. And I had interviewed Bess actually while I was at my sister's in Connecticut. And I cannot, this is a memoir everybody told me to read, and it came out last year, and it's between the discussions of Bess and her grandmother, and
Oh, how nice.
lessons, and in her voice, and there are some voicemails, but also Bess just does this great impression of her grandmother. You feel like you're listening in on these life lessons and long time family stories, and I just loved it so much. But it is like the only book I ever really spend any time listening to. So,
well, speaking of memoir, and that sounds like a great one, where I met recently a wonderful man who wrote a book called On the Road Less Traveled, An Unlikely Journey from the Orphanage to the Boardroom.
wow.
And this book is about Ed Hajim's journey from being kidnapped when he was 3 years old by his father from his mother, told his mother had died, and then his father took him to California and went off to become a merchant marine and left Ed behind. And it's Ed's story of living with different families, living in orphanages, living in foster homes, and being committed to overcome his challenges. And he did. And he's phenomenal. He became a huge success. It's a page turner, a wonderful memoir of inspiration. And that's what I like. It's got, it's not without its hardships, but it's such an inspiration.
I love memoir. I really do. And we talk often about how it doesn't need to be somebody who's famous or somebody you need to know more about. It's the story, it's what we can relate to in the story. And I've read some, what I would think would be surprising memoir that I would pick up, but I do. And I read it and I'm like, it's just incredible. Like you say, there has to be heartache or there's no memoir.
Probably. Well, there usually is. I mean, we could spend a whole show on memoir.
You do that. I have my favorites ready to roll anytime, Meryl. That's one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, that's great. We're going to the, Bryant Park has an event, the reading room.
Yeah.
Every summer they're doing it again. Last summer, of course, they didn't, but this summer they are. And Ed Hajim, who I just was talking about, is going to be on a panel there on July 14th. I don't know if you're coming in for that, but
you know what? That's so soon. It's so funny you say July 14th, and I'm like, oh, in the middle of the summer. Wait, it's July 1st.
And it's around the corner. It's 2 weeks.
That's crazy. Well, I'm coming in next week and I'll be in Connecticut.
Right.
And then we're doing an event here in Rhode Island on the 21st with Martha Hall Kelly of Connecticut in Rhode Island. So doubtful, but I have done the Bryant Park series in the past. I've been, I've moderated panels, and that might've been, the first one might've been 5 or 6 years ago. I love that space.
Great.
I'm glad to know they're doing them again.
They are. I'm really happy that they are. It's a lovely event right in Bryant Park, right behind the New York Public Library, right on 42nd Street. So we'll have some pictures and we'll have maybe even a recording that we can share with people.
Oh yeah, they do record them. They'll give it, you can record your own, but I would love to say, sure, I'll be there July 14th, but it's probably doubtful. I cannot wait to get to the city. I mean, it's been, way too long. You're right there in that great spot. It's not that it's far from here, it's just not on the path, and we haven't gone very far as is. So New York City is definitely a must.
It's coming up this fall for sure. I'm gonna back in action. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Theater, everything, concerts, theater, all of it.
all of it.
Shop.
Lectures. In fact, this weekend, Walter Isaacson is going to be in this area. I happen to be in Sag Harbor talking about his book called The Code Cracker.
Ooh, I
That's
don't
what
know
it's
that
called.
one.
Yeah. So I hope to be able to go to that this weekend. It's so great to get out and start doing this again.
I mean, right? And do you do many events in your area in Connecticut, or do you do them more out on in Sag
We
Harbor
do
out on the
all,
island?
all over, in fact, we arrange events all over the country. Which is, I mean, you name it, we've had an event. In fact, all throughout COVID, we must have set up hundreds of virtual events with
Which is
authors.
amazing, right? I mean, what do you think about, I know we have to go soon, I guess. I mean, no one's kicking us off, but I know.
Yeah, in a couple of minutes, we will
Yeah.
be ready to.
Thinking about merging of the virtual and the in-person events and how that's going to look. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be, a combination, just like you said. I think it's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think, nothing takes the place of how easy it is to be able to have a conversation like we're having now, invite other people to join, and then, get the turnout. I think people talk about Zoom fatigue, and I guess there is some of that, but then there's, then you get tired of running around. So there's fatigue
Right.
there too. So I think people will
Yeah.
pick and choose and do, kind of what works.
Right.
I also, there's a book that before I forget, Susan Shapiro Barish's book,
Yeah.
A Palm Beach Scandal,
Yeah.
is not to be forgotten because it came out last fall, but it's a great summer read. And it started with A Palm Beach Wife. I think Susan.
Yes. I think we chatted about A Palm Beach Wife, but I don't know if we did the scandal, but yeah, we had a great conversation. Absolutely.
Sisters and Intrigue. Susan is great at writing sister. Susanna Marin is her pen name, and
Right.
that's the author of the books. But Susan Shapiro Barish, as you may know, has written 14 nonfiction books that have to do with women and gender. One which I love is Tripping the Prom Queen, about women in rivalry. She has Toxic Friends. You're Grounded Forever. Now Let's Go Shopping.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember that one because that might have come out around the same time as Wendy Mogul's, like The Blessing of a Skin Knee or whatever. But yeah, Let's Go Shop. I totally remember all those. Yeah.
Parenting. Yes. So Susan's got her fiction as Susanna Marin is really interesting because she incorporates all of her knowledge, all of the interviews. She also has, she was teaching at Marymount Gender Studies. So she's got all this knowledge about what the intrigue of what really goes on in the psyche with women.
Which
So
is why the novels resonate, because you read them and you go, oh yeah, totally see this. Totally get that. Yeah.
And like what you were saying about the woman who's a psychiatrist or a psychologist and an author and a new mom. I mean, all of that goes into the rich characters that she's developing, which is fascinating. So authors, we've been working with authors. We just had our 28th year anniversary.
Wow.
And
congratulations.
Thank you. And the depth of the careers that authors have had that they bring to these rich and interesting characters is always fun to really find out.
Oh yeah, I love hearing about the initial jobs or things that they were doing. Waitressing comes up quite often.
Yeah.
And all sorts of temp jobs. And yeah, I just had a conversation with somebody because it was in their bio of all of their work experience. And yeah, it does inform the characters, and it makes the stories richer and relatable. So yeah.
I think that's actually a really interesting question to ask during an interview. What were your jobs prior to, and how did that affect your writing? Kind of a fun thing. Maybe we'll do with our special guest.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear who these special guests will be, Meryl. I'm intrigued. This was so much fun, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe we'll do another one in the fall about the fall reads.
Absolutely.
I also want to tell listeners that we're doing a special Meryl Moss Media Group literary series with Fairfield University.
Oh,
And
nice.
we're going to do a series of 4 events, which I'm really excited about. The first one is with an author who was reviewed in the New York Times last weekend. It's called The Extended Brain. So that's the name of the book. So it's a nonfiction. So there's so much going on. Robin, thanks for making some time together to have this conversation. I can't wait to do it again. Can't wait.
Look forward to it too. I know it's always book season, right, Meryl?
Always book season. Fantastic. So I hope we can catch up next week in person,
Yep.
and we'll talk about our next book bark with our
I love it. Book
Yeah.
bark, and Benny's still sitting under the table.
Lucy,
Bye, Lucy.
making an appearance. Here she is.
Ah,
She
she
comes
is
on
she is
demand.
she is so good. I love it.
Yeah, you can meet her in person next week.
I will look forward to that. I will give her a squeeze.
Okay. You have a
Thank
great weekend, July 4th.
you. Yes, happy reading, everybody.
Happy
If you're
reading.
looking for
Okay.
books, don't say you're bored. It's not possible.
This can't be possible. No way.
No, it's impossible.
Bye. Take care.